Hi, welcome to my new video for beginners. Today we're going to draw this street using one-point perspective. And believe me, we'll learn a lot together while drawing. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. I'm starting by drawing the horizon line. Try to draw this line parallel to the top and bottom edges of the paper. As you can see, this horizon line is closer to the bottom of the paper. This way, I have the eye level of a person standing in the middle of the street. If you draw this line closer to the middle of the paper, you get a totally different view. I showed a drawing like this in a previous video. You can take a look and see the difference for yourself. Okay, this will be the vanishing point in the drawing. Firstly, we need to decide on the width of the street. This is one of the most important stages in the drawing process, because this will have a significant impact on the final appearance of your drawing. Now I'm going to draw two lines. They'll start at the vanishing point and end at the bottom of the right and left edges of the paper. Well, make sure these lines end in these two areas, because if you draw these lines this way or that way, the street will be very narrow. Okay, now let's draw our first building. I'm drawing a line from the top left corner of the paper to the vanishing point. Then I draw a vertical line here. There's probably a store in this part of the building, so I'm going to draw the office part of the building on top of the store. Our first building is finished. Now it's time for the next building. I'll draw a rectangle here. Before I carry on drawing the building, I just need to say something. Do you see the gap between the two buildings? Okay, there's going to be a side street there, and the side street is going to join the main street. I'm going to draw a few more rectangles on top of the first one. Try to draw vertical lines parallel to the left and right edges of the paper, and horizontal lines parallel to the top and bottom edges of the paper. The building's design is a bit different. It looks like the steps of stairs, right? All these rectangles are actually part of the same building. The side of the building that faces the side street is finished. Now it's time for the side facing the main street. To do this, I'll draw lines from each corner of the rectangles towards the vanishing point. Then I'll cut these lines with vertical lines. As you can see, the corners of the building are like this. So, the corners of the last rectangle should look something like this. Okay, the building is finished. Now let's move on to the other building. I draw another vertical line, leaving a small gap between this building and the last one for another side street. Now let's draw the side of the building facing the main street. This building is taller than the building next to it. That's why I can't see the top of the building. So I just finished the drawing with a vertical line. And the next building. Okay, I follow the same steps for the next building. I draw a long thin rectangle. Then I connect the top corner of the rectangle with a vanishing point, and finally complete the building by drawing a vertical line for its width. Okay, you don't need much detail for the following buildings, because they are far away. Just a few lines will be enough. The left side of the street is okay. Now it's time for the other side. For the first building, I draw a vertical line. Then I draw a line starting from the vanishing point and going through the top of the vertical line. That's it. This is the first building on the right side. Right here, there will be another side street. So I'm drawing a rectangle again, leaving a gap between the two buildings. Then I add another rectangle on top of that. They are both for the same building. I connect the top corners of the rectangles with the vanishing point. I complete the drawing of the building with a vertical line. Now it's time for the next building. This building will be taller than the last one. I'll draw this building in the same way. I think you know what I'm going to do now. We'll add a few more buildings by the end of the street and be ready for the next steps. You see, as a rule of perspective, buildings look wider when they're closer to you, and they look narrower the further away they are. We can't really draw up the small details of most of the buildings we're drawing at the moment. So, it's enough to draw a few lines to show that they're buildings. Okay, now let's draw the pavements of the street. I will draw lines starting from the vanishing point and ending at the bottom left and bottom right of the paper. Try to make the pavements on both sides of the street the same width. Don't forget to draw the pavements on the side streets with a few small touches. And that's it. Doesn't it look good? I know it might sound a bit weird, but we've actually finished the most important part of our drawing. Placing the buildings on the street is always the hardest part. Then it's time to add the details to the buildings. Right now, all the buildings look like cardboard boxes, right? So let's turn them into real buildings. Adding windows to buildings is the best way to make them look real. I'll add windows to the first building on the left for this. I divide the entrance part of the building into two parts. I will draw something like a frame inside the upper part. Then I will place the windows inside this frame. Don't forget to use the vanishing point when drawing the frame. This is a key point. If you're struggling to draw straight lines, don't hesitate to use a ruler. There's no rule that says you can't use a ruler. Plus, using a ruler won't stop you from learning or practicing perspective. Try to draw vertical lines parallel to the left or right edges of the paper. And when you're drawing windows, remember that objects moving away from you become smaller, so the width of the windows should become narrower as they get further away. Don't make the window widths the same. Now I'm going to divide this piece in half. And I'm using the vanishing point again. Okay, now it's time for the next part. I apply the same rules here. Nothing more and nothing less. I'll work on the ground floor of the building later. Now it's time for the other building. First, I draw the store part. Then I will use vertical and horizontal lines to add windows to the rest of the building. It will be easier to draw the windows of this building. Try to draw light lines. Darken these lines at the end of the drawing. Never use dark lines in the early stages of your work. If you make a mistake, it'll be hard to fix it afterwards. You'll have plenty of time to darken the lines at the end. I'll leave you alone with the drawing. Don't worry. I'll be back in a few minutes. For now, enjoy yourself. Okay, I'm back. We finished the windows and the office parts of the buildings. Now we're going to draw the shop windows. First, we need to draw the columns of the buildings. Without these, the drawing would be unrealistic. I mark with vertical lines where I will draw the columns. The distance between each column should get smaller as it gets further away. After you've done the columns, you need to draw the beams. Then you can draw the windows. If you're not sure how to place the columns and beams, you can find some inspiration online or in the surrounding buildings. Unless you're working on an architectural drawing, the shapes or dimensions of the building's structural elements don't really matter. The most important thing is that it doesn't look weird. All you have to do to avoid the drawing looking weird is to apply the rules of perspective. Keep on using the vanishing point. If you don't, things can get messy. Actually, there are lots of details to be found on a real street. Streetlights, pedestrian crossings, traffic lights, bus stops, kiosks, market shops, stores, cafes, advertising signs, and maybe trees. Drawing all of these is really a very challenging and tiring process. If your goal is just to learn one-point perspective and apply it to a street sketch, don't bother with so many details. In the later parts of the drawing, I will show you how to draw some streetlights and a pedestrian crossing. Okay. If I give you a quick summary of what you need to do in one-point perspective, think about the following. Start by drawing the horizon line. Pick the vanishing point right on the horizon line. Just make sure you always draw vertical lines parallel to the left and right edges of the paper. Likewise, draw horizontal lines parallel to the top and bottom edges of the paper. Connect all the other lines with the vanishing point. Right now I'm drawing the lines lightly, but I'll go over them more heavily at the end. I can make mistakes at any moment right now, and it might be hard to fix the dark lines. I suggest you do the same. I will add more details, lighting and shading towards the end of the drawing. This will make it more realistic and three-dimensional. As you can see, there are lots of lines that need to be drawn in a drawing like this. Also, you have to be careful when you draw them because if you make a mistake, it will be very obvious. This work can therefore be tiring and take a long time. You might get distracted or bored. Take a break when you feel like this. When you're ready, carry on. Drawing should not be an obligation for you, but a pleasure. You might have noticed that I speed up the video from time to time because I don't want to waste your time. And I also don't want you to get bored. So for me, this is the best option. But if you want me to go slower, just let me know in the comments. Okay, that's it. It looks good, huh? Thank you for watching my video. I would be happy if you would like my video and subscribe to show your support. Have a great day. Goodbye.